So today we're going to be talking about Christina Welbourne's new book, What the Dead Remember. And we're going to be asking her some questions about the book, and so we can get a little bit of history behind it. And let's get started. So, Christina, what first sparked the idea of gatekeepers and hidden realms living alongside our world?
Sarah, it's interesting that you asked that because this story was inspired by a dream I had back in 2019, 2020. I was walking around in a forest and I found this doorway. I stepped through it and I was suddenly in this magical, intoxicatingly beautiful place. It was night there. There was an inn. I had to have a place to stay. I don't know what I was doing there. But I checked in at the inn. The innkeeper was a man and a woman. It was a beautiful woman, a really, really handsome man. I think in my dream he looked like Aiden Turner. If you don't know who that is, look him up. I slept in the most comfortable bed I'd ever known, but when I woke up the next morning, I was in a crumbling ruin. It had all been an illusion. The inn was not real, and the innkeepers were not real people. They were undead. They were the skeletal undead. So in my dream, I woke up with my heart pounding. I knew I had to put that into a story. That was the birth of this story. Very simple, basic concept.
Why do you think readers are so drawn to stories where another world exists just beyond our realm?
I mean, let's be honest, life is heavy. We all know that. And I think we all carry so much stress, responsibility, pressure every day that stories like my story and stories like that offer us an escape from the world. For just a few moments, we can escape from the rat race of life and step into somebody else's story. And I think that's why readers are drawn to stories like What the Dead Remember and books like that.
If the gate in your story was real, what do you think it represents symbolically?
I believe that the gate represents calling. If it were to be a real thing, it would represent calling. It's the moment when you realize that you are destined for more than just a mediocre life. It's the threshold between comfort and courage, between who you've been and who you're meant to become. You can ignore it, you can walk away, or you can step through it and know that you will not return unchanged. It represents destiny.
What scene in the book felt the most personal to write?
There's a moment in the book, and I don't want to give too much away, where Vivian has to choose between staying in her peaceful, mediocre life or answering the call of destiny beyond the gate. Writing her walk away from her husband and daughter and a very comfortable and peaceful life was really hard for me because I'm one of those people that has a hard time confronting uncomfortable things. And she had to make a very uncomfortable confrontation. And for some reason, even though it's not a real story, it was really hard for me to write that. You'll understand when you read the book.
Was there a moment when you almost didn't finish the story?
About halfway through the story, I wrote half the story, and then we made a massive life change. We left behind an entire way of life that we had known essentially for 25 years, and we moved and started over somewhere else. And for about 2 years, I completely I was completely blocked. I could not write, and I pretty much gave up writing. I did a lot of other things. I was trying to figure out who I was, trying to get adjusted to a new way of life, and I just could not write. And I wouldn't have picked a pen back up again and probably would have never finished this book were it not for my husband setting me down and saying, "You are meant to be a writer. I want you to quit whatever you have to quit and you finish this book." And he's the reason why this book is completed. But yes, I almost did give up writing, and it was during that time frame.
Christina, if your book were a movie, who would you cast?
Oh, this is a good one. Henry Cavill would absolutely be King Callum. He is commanding, but he also has that quiet intensity that feels powerful without even having to say that he's powerful. He is totally Callum. If I had to cast someone for Elijah, it would be Jacob Elordi. Absolutely, because he's kind of a bad boy and he's hiding things and he's got secrets, and he would make the perfect Elijah. I would cast Sydney Sweeney as my Olive, because I mean, she's Sydney Sweeney. She would make a beautiful Olive. She balances softness and strength. And Vivian has to be someone ethereal. So I'm thinking for her, it would be Anya Taylor-Joy, because she totally looks like Vivian. You'll understand when you read the book.
What song feels like the soundtrack to this story?
So more like what soundtrack feels like the soundtrack, because I can't just pick one song. And as silly as this sounds, we recently watched Wuthering Heights, and I went through and listened to the soundtrack yesterday, and I thought, oh my gosh, a lot of these songs would totally go with my book. Totally fits the theme of my book, because it makes you feel longing, tension, haunting, romantic, gothic things that you don't normally feel. I feel like that soundtrack would be perfect, almost perfect for my book.
Which character would survive a zombie apocalypse?
Vivian and Callum would absolutely survive the zombie apocalypse because they're already undead. And furthermore, Callum is the king of the undead. He wouldn't be running from the zombies, he would be recruiting them to serve in his army.
If you can step into one scene for just 10 minutes, which scene would it be?
It's real easy. The very first time Vivian goes through the gate and experiences the world of Evanspire, that is the moment that I would enter the book and spend 10 minutes just absorbing everything about that world, the shift in the air, the architecture rising from the mist, the subtle tones of danger and hidden beauty. Yeah, that all would be unforgettable. That's the scene I would go to.
Is there a secret about the universe in this book that you haven't revealed yet?
Absolutely, but I can't tell you what those secrets are. It's a very layered universe. There's histories, there's all kinds of backstories going on. They're going to stretch far beyond the timeline of what the dead remember. Yeah, absolutely.
What are your origin stories? And do the readers have to read them before they read the book?
So the origin stories are short tales set in different time periods. They follow gatekeepers from another era. The first one was in the 1600s during the time of the Salem witch trials. The second one's taking place in the 1980s. The third one I'm not going to tell you yet. You guys have to wait for that. But these origin stories expand on the mythology of the gates and the legacy within that universe. You do not have to read the origin stories before you read the book. You don't have to read the origin stories at all because the book fully stands on its own. But they offer a beautiful way to step into the world early and to catch subtle references to the larger story. If you're somebody who likes Easter eggs and you like finding Easter eggs in books, read the origin stories because I am dropping Easter eggs all through the origin stories. And if you read the origin stories, you will catch them in the book. But alternately, you can read the book first and then go read the origin stories, and you're still going to pick up all the Easter eggs. So I hope that answers your question. All right, friends, I get asked a lot, where can you purchase my book? So right now we are in the pre-order phase. This book does not release to the world until March 24th. If you want to pre-order your copy, you can order it on Barnes & Noble, and you can order it on Amazon. It is available in paperback, hardcover, and ebook. We will eventually have it available also in audiobook, but that is going to be down the road a little ways. But stay tuned. We'll talk more about that after the book launch.